Okay, now let's go to this second layer in our pyramid. I'm not going to talk about the first one because that has been covered, I think, in the marketing strategy courses. But let's talk now about this second layer, the organization of the sales force. Okay, there are different questions that we can discuss here. One is how many salespeople do I need, the sizing, which is what I'm going to discuss next. Then how many different sales forces should I have? So I have, for instance, I'm a pharmaceutical company, a sales force for diabetes, another sales force for oncology, or should all people sell all of the products that I have? How should they be structured? Should I structure them by geography, by type of customer, by type of product? How specialized should they be? Do I need a specific profile of a salesperson, or a different one? Okay, let's start with the sizing of the sales force. There are different methods that I explain in one of the technical notes on Salesforce sizing. One is, or first ones are the financial approach, no? Percentage of sales. I might spend maybe 5% of my sales in the Salesforce. So if my sales are reduced, I have to fire people. If my sales are increased, then I will increase the number of salespeople. This is not very sophisticated and probably not the best method, but many people use it. Affordability is basically, okay, yeah, I would like to have much more salespeople. Probably it is a very good idea, but I cannot afford them. Then you have the market-based methods. No? One is the workload build-up approach. I'll explain it in a minute. Pipeline method, that I'm going to also explain together with this one. Or geographic concentration, which is basically looking at where customers are, in what regions, and more or less how many salespeople do I need to serve these people. No? The sales response approach, which is, we'll also explain it later on. And the scenario analysis, which is basically looking at different scenarios, and then depending on the scenario, I might need different number of people. No, these approaches are less expensive, and also you have quick results, not necessarily good. These are higher cost, but also higher quality. Okay, this is the activity-based sales force sizing, and here we see a very simple company or simple example in which we have a company selling to different segments of customers, where you have a specific number of accounts. For instance, paint and coating, 1,600 accounts, but you may only want to physically visit 20%. So then you have a specific number of customers, 320. And then here you do the work, the pipeline method. No, here you see that maybe I need to spend this number of hours for pre-call planning, this number of hours for technical, etc., etc., etc. At the end, what I know is that for these customers, I need 29 hours in a year. This means that 29 hours times 320 makes it this number of hours. And if an average salesperson can make only 1,500 or 1,490 hours a year, this is what he can work, then I need 6 reps. And then you do this analysis for each segment, and at the end this will give you the number of salespeople that you need. Okay, a different model is the sales response model, and it is a bit more complicated. I explained it in the technical note, so you can have much more information there. But basically this model assumes that we are able to build sales response models in which we have here the number of salespeople, and this is sales. And usually in most markets the response is an S-shaped curve, meaning that if I have, I need some momentum, I need a minimum number of salespeople to start to sell, but also there is a saturation. If I have infinite salespeople, I'm not going to sell much more. So you need to find the optimal, which is probably here, no? When the optimal number of salespeople that will optimize your sales. And here you see this is from the Singham Zollner's book, and a specific example of a US pharmaceutical market where they segmented doctors. You see here in different groups, from the group with the highest number of prescriptions to the group of the lowest number of prescriptions, and they used to have this number of calls, total visits to all of these segments. Those are the white bars. And by not visiting these segments and visiting just with much more frequency here the most interesting ones, as you see here, actually doing, in this particular case, doing less calls, so going from 411,000 calls to only 68,000, they actually increased productivity with less calls. So this is basically what is happening, because different segments of customers might have different set response functions. A doctor that prescribes very little might have a set response function like this, because no matter how many times you visit him or her, he or she is not going to prescribe more than X. But if you go to a very famous and popular doctor, you might get much more prescriptions.